And to shed more light on this issue, I'm so delighted to be accompanied over the phone by Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, the economic expert. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, madam. How do you do?
I'm good, thank you. Well, we need to know more about the role of the International Finance Corporation, IFC, before we start talking.
Well, actually, the International Finance Corporation, the IFC, this is the financial arm of the World Bank. Its role is to offer finance to both the public and private sector, especially in the projects that are related to sustainable development, environmentally friendly projects, the projects that are related to sustainable energy, to renewable energy, solar energy, the green hydrogen, all these projects, and also it focuses on the projects that are related to the infrastructure and services, but it focuses, or its role is a semi-commercial role actually, because of course it cares about the ability of these projects to be able to repay its finance, and that's why when Egypt deals with this corporation, with this financial arm of the World Bank, it's important to promote the creditworthiness and the credit viability of these projects.
So we need to know more about what did Egypt do when it comes to the reforms supporting the financial and the economy stability.
Well, as I said, the IFC, as well as all the international financial organizations, they care about the economic environment in the countries they deal with. They care about the empowerment of the private sector and the economic reforms that enable the economy to generate opportunities for the private sector to be able to work and to be able to obtain finance and repay their debt, of course, with the interest of such debt. And that's why the international financial organizations care about the economic reforms in the countries that they deal with. And here, of course, I'm talking about the developing countries. Particularly Egypt. Egypt was able to manage successfully its economic reform program since 2014, since President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was elected for presidency. We were able to reduce the budget deficit from around 13.9% of the GDP in 2013 to around 7% or 7.1% targeted in the financial year that will end on June 30th, 2026, in the upcoming financial year, with generating primary surplus, which is so important. The primary surplus equals to the revenues minus expenses disregarding the interest. So we're talking about the actual revenues and actual expenses without the financial expenses. So it measures whether the budget is able to self-sustain or not. Egypt now targets a primary surplus of around 4% of GDP in the upcoming financial year that will end on June 30th, 2026. Not only, of course, the fiscal and the structural reforms, but also Egypt was able to manage its monetary policy successfully, and our central bank follows an aggressive inflation targeting policy. In 2022 and 23, the central bank increased interest by 19% to curb inflation and to fight the inflationary waves that were imported, partly, of course, due to the Russia-Ukraine war and partly due to the devaluation of the Egyptian pound. After we were able to tame down inflation, the central bank was able to reduce its interest rate, its policy rates, fell by 2.25%, then by 1%. Presently, the inflation is around 13.6%. These were the figures of April 25, as compared to as high as 39% in September 23. So the central bank was able to do a very good job in curbing the inflation. Also, talking about the monetary policy, We have to remember the courageous decision, the brief decision that was taken by central bank at the beginning of 2024, in Feb 24, to free float the Egyptian pound, to allow the banks to trade in the foreign currency according to the supply and demand forces, and this allowed the foreign exchange, the foreign currency, to get back to the official channels. So all these reforms, whether fiscal or monetary reforms, actually they are scientific reforms, if we can say, and they were followed by all the developing countries that are now able to boost their economic growth.
Well, of course, Egypt has been doing a great job when it comes to economy, indulging the private sector in many projects, and emphasizing on the pivotal role of this sector. Of course, as you said, there's a lot of development when it comes to financing, but we need to know more about how do regional conflicts and instability impact economic development efforts, because as you said, now due to what's going on around the world, I think this has had its own effect too.
Well, regarding, of course, the increasing geopolitical risk, this is a worldwide phenomenon, and of course we can now see the confrontations, the military confrontations in the Middle East, whether the Israeli war on Gaza Strip or the Israeli attacks on Iran, and all these troubles, they of course increase the geopolitical risks, and they can reduce they are expected to reduce the confidence of both investors and consumers, and so of course they will reduce the ability of the world economy to grow and to do business. Of course, Egypt is not far from this, but again, in Egypt we have many competitive advantages that can help us to go through this tough time and to pass this tough time. Talking about our competitive advantages in investment in the Suez Canal economic zone, especially that Egypt enacted many laws and regulations to encourage the foreign and local investments. Talking about, of course, law number 72 for the year 2017, and that enabled the government to provide a lot of incentives to the local and foreign investors, like giving them tax holidays or tax exemptions of 30 to 50% from the investment cost, like enabling the government to increase granting the golden license, like enabling the government also to return part of the cost of infrastructure in the lands, in the industrial complexes. So all these incentives are given by Egypt, and also Egypt. We all know that Egypt has natural competitive advantages, especially due to its location, because you know the goods and commodities that are produced in Southeast Asia. They take a long road, long seaways from the Southeast Asian ports all the way through the Indian Ocean, then the Red Sea, and then the Suez Canal before they are exported to Southern Europe and the United States and North America. So all this cost, all this transportation cost is deducted from the goods and commodities that are produced in Egypt, especially, as I said, in the Suez Canal economic zone, which is expected to be the flagship of investment in Egypt in the coming decade. And that's why we've seen President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, when he met the American business delegation, he expressed his wishes and the aspirations of Egypt that we can establish an American industrial zone, free American industrial zone, just like the Chinese and Indian industrial zones in Suez Canal area.
Well, of course, there's a lot been going on through the world due to the geopolitical events that is happening. But of course, Egypt is blessed to have many sources when it comes to investors and investment in Egypt, which right now the government is doing a great job facilitating more opportunities and more natural, let's say, environment for investors to encourage them to invest more. But going back to the, in your opinion, how effective are the international institutions such the IFC in supporting national development, and especially here in Egypt?
Well, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has been consistent actually in the message he was giving throughout the previous year, that the international financial organizations ought to modernize their risk management frameworks and their assessment of the economic risks and their assessment of the financial needs of the countries of the South. Many times he reiterated that the countries of the South, they have the right to get finance with reasonable conditions and with reasonable interest rates. And he has given this message consistently in many international forums. And I believe one of the fruits, one of the results of such message was the movement undertaken by the BRICS countries to establish the new development bank. Of course, we don't expect that the new development bank would take over a big share from the international financial organizations starting from now, but at least it's an important move, and it echoes the right and the need of the countries of the South, because actually the countries of the South are important for the first of all, the international stability and the international economic growth, the world economic growth, because they represent a big portion, either in the consumption market, the consumer market, or in the labor force. So, in order for us to have a balanced global economic growth, then we have to allow those countries a fair share of the international finance at fair conditions and at reasonable cost.
Well, Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, the economic expert, thank you so much for your informative call. Ladies and gentlemen, a short break for the Asr prayers, and we'll be back.